Okay, our next one is a very common animal for a pet. This is called the bearded dragon from Australia. There he is. Now these bearded dragons are very, very handleable little lizards, and they have a couple of ways of defending themselves. It's mostly bluffing you. It'll lift its head up really high. Stay. And it'll turn jet black underneath when it's trying to scare you away. It's saying, I got a big black beard, stay away, I'm tough. But if that doesn't work, what they do next is they flatten themselves out quite a bit, and all the spikes on the side stick out, and maybe the enemy might think to himself, I don't think I want to eat you, there's too many spikes going on. So they may walk away. But these spikes also act as another defense from large birds circling overhead at high noon. When he's laying in the sand, there would be a perfect outline of a shadow of a lizard to the bird. But when he flattens himself out, all those spikes break up the shadow, so it makes it, fuzzy and not quite clear. So that's another way they protect themselves. Our next one is an animal that is sort of like a snake and sort of like a lizard. And this is called, from Papua New Guinea in Australia, the blue-tongued skink. Sort of like the wiener dog of the lizard world. And they do have blue tongues. As you can see, he kisses me. Coming up my nose. But these guys here have a very scale-like skin, much like a snake, a head the shape of a snake. And these guys can get a little bit larger than this. This one's I bought at a reptile show in 1996, and so we still have him. He was only a baby then. Okay, now we're going to look at a few snakes. Our first snake is, it's a baby, and it's called the Pueblo milk snake. And this snake here, the red, black, and yellow, is his defense, because this thing doesn't even know how to bite. Its only protection is to look like a venomous snake called a coral snake. And if you were walking along a trail and you saw a red, black, and yellow snake, you'd wonder, is this the friendly little milk snake, or is this the deadly poison coral snake? There's a poem that can help you, and the poem goes, if red is next to black, you're okay, Jack. If red is next to yellow, you're a dead fellow. I had a 4-year-old girl in a preschool stand up and put her hands on her hips, and she said, can I ask you an important question? I said, sure, go ahead. She said, what do we do if our name's not Jack? I said, run. Who's next? Oh, this next snake comes from Colombia. This is a beautiful, I call it my chocolate snake, but when it's outdoors here, you might be able to see some rainbow colors on it, much like a soap bubble, when it gets all the prisms of colors and that. It's quite beautiful. And there he is. Can you see any color? I can see color. Can you guys see colors? This is a very beautiful snake, also a very gentle and mild snake. And this snake here is very popular as a pet. Now the rule is that you're not allowed to own any snakes anymore that can exceed 3 meters. And that's as of April the 1st of this year that rule came out. But this snake will never reach that length. Can we use one of your staff members, the blonde girl over there? She doesn't like snakes. How about you, John? Okay. Our next snake does exceed 3 meters at one time or other. If I can find his head. He's got rainbow colors too.
I hope he's safe.
I hope so too. This is a boa constrictor. Beautiful colors as well. We'll put it on John here. He likes you. This snake is a boa constrictor from South America. They're found in Colombia, Brazil, and all kinds of terrain, mostly in jungle. And they do go up into the trees to hunt, and they do go on the ground to hunt as well. They can get up to about 13 feet in length. And they are probably one of the most common snakes in the large species of snake in the pet industry. But like I said, once they exceed 3 meters now, you're not permitted to, you can have them if you have papers, but you can't take them out into the public. Now, a little story about a man who went to Africa. While he was in Africa, he saw a giant snake and he shot it and killed it. He was thinking he'd take it back to Vancouver and sell it to someone who could make snakeskin boots and purses and bags and shoes and things like that out of it. Well, he didn't know the rules, and or else he did, because he flew into Seattle, hid the snake underneath his car seat, drove up to the Peace Arch border crossing and thought he could sneak it across the border. Well, he got caught. They searched his car and they found it. And so they donated, Customs Canada donated this skin to Cinemazoo so we can show you how big some snakes can get. This one here is the skin of an African rock python. It is exactly 20 feet or 6 meters. Now, this snake is the 3rd largest species of snake in the world. It can get to about 9 meters, which is 30 feet. And it's not the longest. If you want to know, the longest is a reticulated python. The biggest snake on record for length is 36.5 feet. That's 16.5 feet longer than this, or 11.1 meters. They also have, people buy them as little babies, and then when they get too big, they don't want them anymore. They release them in places around the world. Most places they would never survive, but places like Florida, they're doing really well. Scientists believe there's at least 300,000 pythons in the Everglades now, and for millions of years, the #1 hunter in the Everglades, top of the food chain, was always the American alligator. Not anymore. They're competing with these large snakes that have been released there. In fact, the large snakes are eating a lot of the alligators as young ones. This snake was brought across the border about 11 years ago. The value of it at that time was about $3,500. I really don't know what the value is now, but they're very strict. You can't even bring snake skin boots across without permits anymore.